so welcome. Today is our Level Up at Lunch, and this is an opportunity for you to really plug into a fabulous group of women. We hold these Zoom meetings on the third Thursday of the month. And for those of you who haven't had an opportunity to plug in with us, we're an environment of professional women who come together to build lasting relationships. Yes, and professional development and business connections. And we also help support women who are in need through our our annual fundraising activities. So I just want to say thank you today to our featured speaker and who's going to be talking to us about joyful budgeting for women, achieve your financial potential. And she's going to be sharing with us in just a little bit. So stay tuned. And for those of you who are watching us at PWN YouTube channel, be sure that you click like and subscribe and share, of course. And I just want to say thank you so much for our sponsors, which includes our lovely Krista Beavers, who is our treasurer as well. She's president of Guardian Accounting and Dress Your Business for Success. So we also want to say thank you to Stephanie Shields, the CEO of Bookkeeping Central, for taking care of our bookkeeping needs. And thank you very much to our dear Jody Royer as well, who has been helping us with our technology needs, and Estrada Associates, Wealth Management, Katerina Roundow, and she's with Serving Women on a Mission, and Sarah Fromm, she's one of our local dentists here, and Mimi Mina, which with A's Creation, and Diane Glim, Monterey County Weekly. Thank you. I'm actually going to give it to you, hand it back to you, Elizabeth, so you can say a little bit about our introducing and queuing us up for our speaker. Thank you, my dear.
Fabulous. It is my great pleasure to announce our speaker. And Marin Laukka is a triple certified coach and positive psychology expert who specializes in helping women make joyful, confident financial decisions. With a master's degree in positive developmental psychology and certifications in life and budget coaching, Marin has guided hundreds of women to reduce financial stress and build budgets that align with their values. As the founder of Yes and the author of the #1 new release, Ready Enough, she helps women embrace their financial power, overcome guilt and shame, and create a life filled with joy and financial clarity. Marin's practical yet compassionate approach allows women to confidently manage their finances and thrive in both their personal and professional lives. Marin, we are so grateful and happy to have you talking to us today about joyful budgeting for women, break up with financial stress and guilt to achieve your potential.
I have to say that might have been one of the best read bios that I've ever had. I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. And I want to triple check on time. 30 minutes, is that still, or is there a different, 30 minutes?
Carrie, we good with 30 minutes?
Actually, I thought it was 20. Can
We
we
can
go?
do 20. I can pivot.
Okay. That would give us enough time to do our announcements, testimonials, and so on. So yeah, 20 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So about just 5 after the hour. Got it. All right. Well, my name is Marin Laukka. I'm very excited to be here and present a little bit of my work today. I'll echo that it's really fun to have a lot of financial professionals in the room. I have a very unique little corner of the financial professional space, and I'm excited to share it with this group who's obviously very passionate, obviously very values centered already. I can tell just by how you are sharing and connecting as a group. And let's apply that to our money and how we spend it. So typically I like to ask who's in the room today, but we've gotten a good introduction here. What I would like to add to those introductions, though, is in the chat, and I'll check on this sporadically throughout these 20 minutes together. Just share what about joyful budgeting, whether you were thinking of it before you even logged on today or just hearing the phrase joyful budgeting, what about that intrigues you? What does it make you think of? If you're leaning in, if you're wondering what this is about, like what exactly is causing you to lean in and to want to know more? And as you share your intrigue, I'll share a little bit more about why it intrigues me and why I started this work. My assumption most of the time when I walk in front of an audience for the first time is that when I combine the phrases joyful and budgeting, this is going to be your face. You're not going to believe it. You're not going to think that there's a connection between joy and budgeting. Furthermore, especially for women, unfortunately, but there tends to be a disconnect between even confidence and finances or confidence and budgeting. Oftentimes, when we think of budgeting, instead of feeling joy or confident, we imagine an image like this, that Wolf of Wall Street, very masculine, right or wrong, rule-based approach to finance and budgeting. We assume that we don't have a place in this world, especially as women. That makes me feel sick. I think that all of us not only have a place, and it's not just that I think this, we know from the stats, we know from the research, not only do women have a place in finance and in our budgets, but we are really, really good at it. We make more money from our investments. We make smart decisions. We tend to be pretty risk averse, which leads to some challenges, but also some huge benefits in managing our finances. And so my job, I see it as my duty, is to blow the roof off of what our preconceived notions about budgeting and finance. That's what we're going to do today in our short time together. Before diving any further, however, I want to check the assumptions in this room. So let's play a little short game of word association. When I say the word money, what associations do you have with money? Go ahead and share in the chat. Excitement, fun, freedom, security. Historically, it's been fear, maybe shifting. Not having enough. Scarcity is one that sometimes comes up, something to burn. Okay, how about when I say the word budgeting? What's the word association that comes up for you when I say budgeting? Boring, confusion. I like to have a plan, power, strategic. Cool. Okay. I like the words that are coming up with this group in particular. Sometimes I see a very, very stark contrast between these two words, these two quick games of word association. Sometimes what I see, I didn't necessarily, it was a little bit here, but didn't necessarily see it as obviously in this group. Sometimes money, we associate power, freedom, choices, opportunity, and then budgeting, we associate constriction, scarcity, shoulds. I'm going to be told that I'm doing something wrong, that feeling of being constrained. There was a little bit of that here, that budgeting has the strategic planning. Power is interesting that it came up with budgeting as opposed to money. Oftentimes I see the flip-flop, but I did see the like fun, freedom bit come up with money here. With this quick little check-in with ourselves, I want you to notice what came up for you with these two words, and are they working together or are they opposing? Very often I see them as opposing. We can expand this even beyond money and budgeting, and sometimes playing a word game association of your goals and budgeting, or what you want for your life, what excites you, and budgeting. If there's a difference, if there's even an opposing difference between those two things for you, it's a really good indicator that your own psychology is working against you, and we want to change that as soon as possible. That is part of my job as a joyful budgeting coach. I like to draw the parallel to further reiterate this point by explaining, and I know at least Julianne has a dog, maybe a few other of you I noticed. We're talking about puppies. I also have two dogs. They're outside in the backyard right now, so they don't interrupt our wonderful event. So if we think of ourselves as a dog, I'm going to draw this parallel. Stick with me. I promise I pull it around so it makes absolute sense, even if you don't love dogs as much as I do. I often hear when I introduce myself as a budgeting coach, I often hear the phrase from other people, something along the lines of, oh, I should hire you. Or sometimes, and this is a can of worms that I won't open today, but sometimes it's, oh, my wife could really use you. There's some sentiment of like, oh, this should be in our lives, but it's not. There's this notion of, I know the benefit of budgeting, or I know that it's important or is helpful for others, but I'm not doing it and I don't plan on it. That's the sentiment behind that phrase of like, oh, I really should. So with this dog example of how this all makes sense and why it's important to think about when we think about our own relationship with money. If a dog, as an example, is told to get into a car, but associates that car with constraint, with restriction, with not a fun time, even if the dog park is on the other side of that car ride, even if every time they jump in that back seat, they get a treat, even with that immediate reward, if there's or an immediate and long-term reward, if there's an association in the interim, in that short term, with restriction and constraint and negative feelings, most likely that dog is at least going to resist that action, if not ignore it altogether, avoid it altogether. On the other side, this gets amplified, especially if the alternative to jumping in that car is to stay home and lie on or eat the couch, which is very enjoyable. Even if the long-term repercussions of eating the couch is reprimand and punishment or getting yelled at. So what I'm amplifying here in our psychology is that even if the long-term gain or loss is there and evident and known by us, if there's a short-term something else that is the opposite of that, so the car is restrictive, it feels negative, even if there's a long-term joy of the dog park, the short-term joy of the couch, even if there's a long-term consequence on the other side of eating that couch, we are more likely to follow that immediate action than we are to persevere, especially for the long term, to get what's on the other side of that joy example. So let's bring it to human form here, but imagining ourselves in dog shoes. We associate, many of us, budgeting with that constraint, with boring, with numbers, with someone else telling me how I should and shouldn't spend my money. Even if I know I should do this, there's that understanding of long-term gain. We know that individuals succeed in their goals faster and more effectively. We know that there's more confidence on the other side of budgeting. But because the interim is negative, is boring, doesn't feel good, we're more likely to avoid it than to go toward that. Same concept is that if we think the short-term gain, if we're focused on, well, what I have been doing has been pretty much working, like I've survived, I've created a life or a business up until this point, even if we know the long-term consequence is more stress, less certainty, maybe even the business failing altogether or not thriving for the long-term sustainable future, even with those long-term consequences, if the interim is nice and comfy, that we just get to keep doing what we're doing, we're more likely to choose the keep doing what we've been doing over the budgeting, even with those long-term either wins or losses, present and known. I see my part of my work as flipping both of these on their heads for the sake that we make the very thing that's going to create our goals, that's going to make them come to life, we make that not only easier, but we work with our psychology instead of against it. And then we get to experience the thing that we already know we want and we already know is available to us. So I flip these things on their heads by thinking of it instead of a nice comfy couch that leads to long-term loss, and then this boring budget that leads to long-term gain, if only we could get ourselves to do it. I think of like peeling off the slipcover of the couch that we're currently on. And so maybe it's not so much that we're on a comfy, okay couch that's like leading us toward business adequacy. Maybe if we start to slip off that slipcover, we're like, ooh, I really don't know where my money is going. I actually, when I'm really asked about it, feel quite stressed about my financial situation. I really wish I felt more confident to make choices like hiring an assistant or taking that sabbatical from work or going for that business full time. Some of these things that we really wish could be there but aren't there because we're sitting on the couch. And then on the flip side, it's not a boring budget. And this is where we're going to spend the rest of our time together today. What if instead of numbers and some cookie cutter approach that someone told us we should be spending our money in this way with these percentages, what if instead you opened this thing that illuminated to you exactly what you want, exactly how you're going to get there, and with your values so obvious and so known that not only does the outcome bring you joy, the process itself brings you joy. That's why I created a new approach to budgeting, my joyful budgeting approach and concept. I combine the psychology of money that is so necessary to any of these conversations. I have a master's degree in positive psychology you heard about, which is the study of wellness, meaning, and fulfillment. What qualifies a good and meaningful life really? And then how do we align our money to those things, to your goals, to what makes you happy, to what motivates you genuinely? And we have to look at the real numbers. It's not that that's not a part of the conversation. It's that that comes in tandem with the clarity of your goals, your motivations, your values. So my background that you heard in the bio, and I like to spend just a little second here emphasizing this, is that unlike some individuals in this room, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I am not a CPA or a tax consultant for you. However, I am a joyful budgeting coach, certified budgeting coach, as well as 2 other coaching certifications. And again, that emphasis in psychology and positive developmental psychology specifically. I have this extensive background of understanding of how your mind is working and what your relationship is to money. That is either amplifying and making your goals easier or being a detrimental or just making it harder for you to do the things that you're wanting to do. Budgeting is my jam. Cash flow is my jam. Where is your money going? How are you spending it? Does it feel good in alignment with your values and your goals? Or does it feel like it's being wasted or there's like a hole in your paycheck every week or every month that does not feel good? And is there something we can change about it? So there's a for sure line in the sand. I partner with a lot of wealth managers, financial advisors, financial planners, tax consultants, estate attorneys. Those are my referral partners where we work oftentimes alongside you, sometimes at the same time, to make sure that all of your needs are met. But this piece, this part of the conversation is one that's often left out, or there just isn't the training or the time in some of these other spheres to really do the deep dive that you need for both your psychology of money and then also that budget, specifically the cash flow. So with our remaining time, we have plenty. I'm going to walk you through one of the 4 steps that I always walk my clients through, whether it's a speaking event, a workshop, or my one-on-one clients. My joyful budgeting process itself is this 4-step system where we start by clarifying your goals, questions, circumstance, your challenges, your desires with your money, with your life, with your business. We then go on to maybe what you think of as the boring work, but I promise there are so many emojis and colors and fun charts in this section to really figure out where is your money currently going. We're just getting a taste, getting a feel for what's currently happening. What are your numbers right now? So that step 3, we can set up a system that combines those first 2 steps together. We know your goals, we know your desires, we know the questions that you have. We also have a good idea of what's currently happening. And when we merge those 2 worlds together, we create your joyful budget in a system that is automated, that you don't have to do any math, that is working with you in real time so you can ebb and flow with life just like life is ebbing and flowing with you. Step 4 is the one that I love. We get to dive into that decision-making coaching work where now that we have the data at hand, we can come back to a really solid standing point and ask yourself, how is this feeling? Do you enjoy what you're seeing here? Are you feeling closer to your goals? Are you feeling like now that you see your goals literally taking place before your eyes, that you're feeling excited and good and alive the way that you thought you would? Or is it feeling like there's something off here? And then if that's the case, what can we change about this? So it's a continual process of that check-in, that coaching. And oftentimes when my clients get to this 4th step, you're so confident and sure and clear about what your budget is doing in your business and your personal life that it opens up this whole space that you didn't even have before because it was so shrouded with stress or with shame or with guilt. That space is open for you to ask questions like, what do I really want? What really excites you? If I really had any opportunity in front of me, if I actually could make any goal happen now that I see how this unfolds so naturally, what goals do I want to set for myself? And I'm there for that part of the process as well, which is some of that benefit of having the ample certifications and training backgrounds to bring to the table. So today we're going to focus in on step 1. This first step is one of the core pillars that makes budgeting a source of joy rather than a source of stress, because we put a number to what you want. And when we put numbers to what you want, we help you get what you want. There's a few different ways of saying this exact same phrasing, so I'm going to go through a few because one of them is going to land with you more than the others. So putting numbers to what you want, specifying what you want allows you to get what you want. Think of the way back in the day, SMART goals of how that was all the rage, because we know that if you put a number to something, if you get that specific, you're that much more likely to achieve it. Enumerate what you want, get what you want if you want to be fancier with it. Or what I'm playing with right now combines all these things together. Evaluate what you want to get what you value, which means we need to know your values, we need to know your desires, we need to know your goals, and then we add those numbers to them to make sure that they come to life in a really obvious, easy, and flowy way. So this first step if you remember those 4 steps in your mind, that first step is to clarify these 5 different categories of your life. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to talk about a goal that you have. We're going to talk about a question that you have specifically related to your money, some facts about your life just to get a sorting of like, where are you at right now? What is that snapshot picture? A challenge that you're dealing with right now. Hopefully not. Maybe your house burned down last year like mine did. That's a big financial challenge. It brings a unique perspective to a budget. And then also a desire. This is different than goals. This is that ability to take a step back and truly get a big insight of what do I really want and crave for my life. If you notice, there's something at the center of all 5 of these. And I want us to keep this in mind as we're going through these questions. And especially as looking at time, we'll probably have some of these questions as homework. So I want you to really remember these questions have one thing and one thing only at its center. That's you. Maybe you. That is you at the center of all 5 of these categories. It is not anyone else. It's not a prescription. It's not someone that knows better or that has the answers for you. With a caveat of course, we reach out to our experts, we reach out to our financial planners, we reach out to our tax accountants, we ask the questions to get the information we need to feel really confident and sure about that guidance that may not be in our wheelhouse. However, we always filter it through us and through these 5 categories. Because if your budget isn't joyful, isn't realistic, isn't centered around you with your values and your goals at the center, then is it really helping? Or is it just a rule book that we're following that's getting us to where someone else told us we need to go? Again, a source of joy rather than stress. And as a fair warning, if you apply this to your actual financials, you will see a lot of incredible results. My clients have $6,000 more toward their goal by the end of year 1 and year 1 alone by applying this system. So let's get into some of these questions. I think with time, we're going to have some of these as homework. So trust your gut with this, or if you're taking notes, like write the first word or 2 that come to mind for you with each of these questions, and know that you can always follow up with yourself later to dive in deeper. With this goal question, we start with a very, very broad question. What are your current and long-term goals? But there's an important follow-up here, especially when it comes to budgeting and joyful budgeting. What is your priority? So you have a whole list of goals, you have a whole list of hopes for yourself, but when you look at that list, or when you really stop and think about what is my current goal? What is my current priority? What's the thing that really comes to the surface? And it might surprise you, and let it surprise you. In a joyful budget, that's the thing that we would highlight right at the top so that you can see that lovely green bar working toward that goal. You know the deadline of when it's going to happen, and that also cues you in to know when your next goal can then be a priority. The second question is, what questions do you have about your money? And importantly, what answer would create the most ease for you? So here's an example. Sometimes I have individuals come to me and say, I just don't know where my money is going. I feel like I should be making enough, or like, I think I'm okay. I've been surviving this far, this much in life, but I really don't have a sense of where it's going. And therefore, I don't even know what changes I could make if I wanted to make something else happen. The answer to that question, where is my money going, is going to be very different person to person. For one individual, they want every little detail. They want to know not only that they're shopping at Amazon and how much that costs, but what are they spending at Amazon? For someone else, that's going to be, you know what? I'm just kind of stressed about if I'm spending too much dining out. Is that where all my money is going? There's something a little bit more specific for them. And so that's going to be the thing that's highlighted. Your answer needs to alleviate whatever stress you are experiencing. And if that answer doesn't alleviate your stress, we are going to work until we find an answer that gives you the answer that you're really looking for. That's going to vary person to person. Again, you are at the center of all of this. So really let it be, what is the answer that you're craving from the question that you're asking? The third question, what must you consider about your current situation? This is that fact section. And is there any resistance to shift or know about here? So here's what I mean by this follow-up question specifically. The facts is pretty basic. We just want to get a sense, and I hold people's hand through this part of the process to make it fun and to make sure that it doesn't feel overwhelming. Just where is the money currently going, generally speaking? How can we outline what's currently happening? Maybe you have a mortgage, you have kids you want to put through college, you're really prioritizing that right now. You have this business that you're funding, and any extra savings is going into that business to really get it off the ground. Maybe you're taking some time off work to take care of your mom, or there's something circumstantially in your life that you want to highlight and make sure is really known. If any resistance comes up to any of those facts, for instance, I had a client who was like, holy cow, I am spending so much on this mortgage on a house that, quite frankly, I kind of wanted to move out of 10 years ago. That resistance might come up and then circle back to either a goal or a desire. So all of these 5 categories relate with each other, and I help to make sure that they are all interconnected in a way that makes it more clear instead of more confusing. So if there's resistance, just take a note of it. Hey, this is feeling like there's resistance. Is there a different goal or a different desire related to this one? What feels challenging in your finances is the 4th of 5 questions, and specifically, what helps you to feel secure, hopeful, free. This is similar to that question, what question do you have? Where we really want to make sure that it's not just addressing, maybe you feel really stressed about you being the sole breadwinner of your house now, or maybe it feels really hard because your kids are adults now and you don't know where to draw that line of how much to support them or how much not, how much of your budget should be devoted toward that. What would help you to have a clear answer and to feel secure in following that answer? So if you feel stressed because you're the only breadwinner right now, is it that you just need to see how much your family is spending on a month-to-month basis? If so, great, we'll get that answer for you. Is it more so that you just feel uncertainty because you've always had excess and you're more comfortable with that, and you're really wanting to find a way of how to find excess in what currently is, whether that's changing income or adding income, or maybe just changing how budgeting looks or feels or is outlined for you? Again, we're coming back to what makes you feel good and secure. And the final question, what would be a dream come true for you? This is that desire section. And how does money relate to that desire? Which again, might surprise you. Let it be a really expansive question. So would it be a dream come true for you to take the entire summer to enjoy your kids or grandkids or your family? Would it be a dream come true for you to buy a house for your parents, or to fly some family members to the beach to spend an amazing family vacation that hasn't historically been possible? Would it be a dream for you to clock out of work at 5 p.m. every day and not feel the stress of whether or not you did enough that day weighing on your shoulders? What is that desire? And then how does money show up in relation to that? We buzzed through those questions so quickly. Sometimes there's actually a benefit in that because it really gets at your intuitive answer. So I know something good came up for you. With all 5 of these, of course, we could do deep dives into every single one, and this is just step 1 of the process. But this is the step that if you don't do it, you're going to find a budget that isn't so joyful. But if you do it, you're going to flip that budget from a place of stress or constraint or shoulds into a genuine place of joy because you see you reflected there. The stats are there. The stats are true. 9 in 10 individuals are feeling stressed about money. 51% of millennial women lose sleep over their finances. When you implement just a system like joyful budgeting, like a few of the others here who have amazing financial expertise, the plan alone reduces stress by 35%. Not a dime has changed in your finances. If you just have that plan, your stress has decreased. And I mentioned this stat earlier because I'm very proud of it. My clients are $6,000 closer to their goal with just 1 year of joyful budgeting because we've gotten so clear in this first step on what they want, and then we followed the rest of the process to make it happen. I'm going to share, as promised, on the screen here, all of you. We had a fast session today, so all of you, I would love to invite you to a free 30-minute call afterwards. All that I ask is a quick little piece of feedback on how today went. And I will definitely share this with the community as well, so you have that information for future speaking events too. So you'll fill out a quick form. You can use that QR code, or I will share right now in the chat if you would rather just copy and paste a URL. And this will take you to that form. A quick form at the end of the form is where you will see that link to sign up for a free session. That is all I have for you today. 2025 can be your year of joyful budgeting. I very much believe it. And if you want more from me, I saw a few come through the chat. I'll be sure to check in with those in the last few minutes of today, of questions that we have, but also feel free to email me, look on my website, book that call, and I'm happy to dive in further with whatever is going on in your personal business and personal life.
Wowza. That
A lot for 20 minutes.
speaker, I have to say, you did a fantastic job of giving us a lot of really meaningful information in a very short period of time. And so, I noticed that you had a few questions on your, what do you want to call it? The link. So I just want to give people an opportunity to get the link, answer your questions, take a deep breath as you actually lean into joyful budgeting. I just love the concept of, I call it empowering us to live with a greater sense of joy and freedom. So I appreciate you. Did you have anything else to say about that, Elizabeth?
Just thank you. And lots of food for thought there. I love that you put the questions out there. I totally believe that just getting us going on questions is a great place to start.
Yeah. And if you haven't read the comments there, it's just fabulous job. I really appreciate all your insight and your fabulous images that you gave us. The dog and the yeah, that was very indicative of
Gotta make it joyful.
love it. And great. So I just
Yeah.
ladies, thank you so much for not only showing up for yourselves, but showing up for each other. It's always a joy and a pleasure to be here on the call with you today and just hear what you have to say and basically leaning into each other's support. So again, I just want to say thank you again to our keynote speaker. I really appreciated you sharing your wisdom and your humor with us today. Blessings you all. Be well.
Thank you, everybody.